Okay, so I'm gonna try not to ramble too much, and I'll have like footage of our recent pickups going as well, just so you guys don't get bored. Um, I just wanted to speak a bit about the quotation marks tournament that we experienced yesterday, a few of us. Um, there seems to be like a lot of confusion uh, by the people who like weren't there and just really don't know what happened. A lot of tomfoolery, a lot of negligence, a lot of I don't even know what to call it. Just it was really just a perfect storm of just everything that can go wrong in a tournament did go wrong. Um, yeah, just like a complete train wreck. Um, Now I kind of want to start like where this all started, leading up to the tournament. So the tournament host, his name is Elkzz. Um, so I believe he kind of came out of nowhere. I think he might have been in the KSG, and then he joined Wraith's. The first time I ever heard about him was he joined Wraith's Discord, and he posted a link to his new community server, and he said, "Join. I'm going to be hosting events soon. If I get like 100 members, blah 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 blah." And then I joined just to kind of see where things were headed. Like I kind of knew that this guy, like I've never heard of him. Like I don't I don't really think he knows what he's doing, or like I don't think he's been in the community long enough. Like the red flags were already like starting to go off like in my brain, but I still joined because I just wanted to see like where things were gonna head off into. Um, so it became pretty clear that he really didn't know like how to host a tournament or like what this community was about, because he kept saying like, "Oh guys, like invite all your friends and then I'm gonna host a tournament." Like he really had nothing to like offer people. He was just telling people to come into his Discord and then he was gonna provide something for them later, right? And then I looked at that and I was like, okay, maybe like I can steer his passion into the right direction and it might go somewhere. So I kind of like started telling him like, dude, just announce an event, like get very specific about it, put out a date, and then people will join for it, right? Like provide them with something, and then they'll come in. Like this is pretty simple, right? But I guess it wouldn't be simple if you weren't like used to doing that kind of stuff. Um, so then he's like, okay. So then he announced his 1v1 tournament, 32 players, which is actually the same number of players that participated in my first 1v1 tournament. Um, but uh, since I had started talking to him, he starts messaging me like with like advice and stuff, and I tried to like steer him into the right direction. And he's like, "What server should I use?" And then I just said I use Ed's server. Then he contacted Ed, and Ed gave him the server to use using my map. So he was set up with a map. He was set up with a server. He and I think like at this point, I knew that there was still a pretty big possibility that things might go wrong, but I thought that a complete and utter like train wreck possibly could be avoided because he was reaching out to experienced people such as myself, such as Ed. Um, it was a bit worrisome that he chose like complete. Yeah, he did choose randoms for his mod team, but that's okay. Like if they're his friends, whatever. But he chose Verb as one of his like mods, and that really like set off red flags because Verb is kind of known for like trolling newer people. He goes to like these regiments that don't really know who he is, and he just trolls them. So I kind of felt like that's what was happening with Elkzz. And then he chose Patty as a mod as well, and I was like, oh god. Um, but at least maybe just like the Discord might be a mess, but maybe the tournament will be okay. Just maybe the tournament will. Then yeah, I started helping him with like the brackets and stuff. Like he had Equal seated like number 25, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? Um, but that's what happens when you're like not part of the Melee community, right? You don't know the players, you don't know how good they are. Um, you're just in the dark pretty much, right? Um, so he was just asking me a bunch of stuff, and like I was doing like the thing I wanted to set like a line in the sand because at the end of the day, like I wanted to make it clear to him that it's not my tournament, right? Like you can ask me any question you want. I will give you advice like with all the experience that I have, but I'm not hosting your tournament for you, right? Because he was like, hey, can you help me with like the refing and blah blah blah, and I was like, dude, like I'm participating in your tournament, right? Like I want to focus on the tournament. Um, and calling matches and stuff like that's pretty much what the tournament host. That's pretty much all the tournament host does, right? Is call the matches and update the challenge. So like I'm not doing like your tournament for you, right? So I want to make that very clear to him. And he was like, okay, like I guess I'll like do it myself or get one of my mods. And I said that like it's not that big of like a thing. You just call the matches. Like anyone can do it. You just need to know the commands, right? And updating the challenge isn't that big of a deal as well. Um, so yeah, I guess we can just skip ahead to the tournament, what happened during the tournament. It's kind of funny. I'll talk about my match first. So I got put up against a guy named Killers, and I've never heard of this individual before. So I look him up on Discord, and he apparently was a TRRB recruit. And I was like, okay, like maybe he's just new to melee. Like I seriously had no idea who this individual is. So our match starts, and I look at his ping. His ping is NA, but whenever he would talk on his mic, like, oh, I have like a bayonet glitch or something, he'd have like a very thick, like Swedish slash like Russian slash like Eastern European accent. So I was like, huh, like this isn't really making any sense because like obviously like a European can live in North America, right? But we don't really see that too often. So I was like, this isn't making much sense. Like according to his accent, he should have European ping, right? So that was a bit suspect. Um, and his blocking was pretty good, but like he had no offense. He was just straight stabbing, right? And our match was actually going pretty normally. I think the tournament for the first 10 minutes, 10 minutes was going according to plan. And then the moment things started falling apart was, I'm not going to name any names, okay? Like, they probably had alt names anyway. But people started jumping into the arena I was having my match in. This isn't on Wraiths. This is the map that I created a week ago for my normal tourney. And how the map works is that there are invisible walls, but you can jump over them. And I did it that way because if you have your invisible walls too high, if you go close to them, the camera will actually start moving and start really messing with your melee, right? You want your camera to be exactly where you have it according to your mouse movements. So the invisible wall has to be like around knee height for that not to happen. Um, and also, if people are like jumping around to different arenas, you'd think that you just kick them or ban them or warn them, right? Not that big of an issue. Well, it turns out that Elkzz doesn't know how to ban people. I don't even think he knew the P command like opens a player list or anything, right? So in my match, I'm all of a sudden fighting killers. Oh yeah, sorry. Back to killers. So it turns out that it's actually Gustav in an under a new name, and this might be one of Gustav's like most like hidden talents. But he does accents very well. Like I had no idea it was Gustav. Um, and like I was expecting him to like give it up like when I was up like maybe 2-0, 3-0, but he never did. I think he was just throwing the tourney to troll. But yeah, back to when everything started going wrong. I had people jumping into my match, like starting to fight me, and I was like, "What is the admin doing? Like nothing is happening." Like I see these admin messages like, "Everyone, stop trolling now," and I'm like, "Okay, so when are the kicks gonna start happening? When are the bans gonna start happening? Like, what is going on right now? Like this is a 1v1 tournament, and I'm fighting like three people in my arena. Like, what is even going on right now, right?" And then I start looking at other arenas, and I just kind of like see people just like kind of standing around, people like jumping in and out of arenas. Like everything is just it's weird because like the actual matches, like they stopped happening. Like no one was really fighting each other. Everyone was just kind of like running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and it was just like a really weird sight. Like especially if you consider like this is an active tournament. Like what is even going on right now? Um, so then in chat, yeah, so then like the announcements, like they stopped happening. Like there was no kicks, no bans, and then no announcements trying to get everyone under control. And apparently, Elkzz had left the server, and he was the only mod or the only admin there. Later, he would say that he left due to complications. That he didn't get specific about anything, but yeah, he had left his own tournament while it was on fire, pretty much. Um, so at this point, I had like two choices. I could either stay and waste my time because nothing seemed to be happening. I didn't think it would be getting resolved. The tournament host had disappeared. Everyone was trolling around, right? So like I was just wasting my time there. Or I could go to pickups. Pickups was like I think like I was in the pickups VC while sitting like in my match, and they were already starting to choose captains. So it was a pretty like easy choice for me. Like because nothing was happening in the tournament. Everyone was just trolling, and the host was gone. So I was like, okay, well, if the host is gone, then you know what? I'm gone as well. Like, this isn't worth my time. So I go to pickups, and then everyone is talking about the now cursed, like, Elks tournament. Um, just like, I don't know. They're just, like, making fun of Elks and stuff, and I don't even blame them because this is of his own doing, right? And I'm going to get into, like, do I think Elks should have hosted a tournament at all, like, at the end of my explanation? Um, Actually, I am pretty much at the end of my explanation. I just went to pickups, and then apparently Nico and Shook won because they were the only ones that stayed or something. Like I don't even know, but yeah, they had apparently recuperated in Elk's own words when there were only like 10 people left, and then had the rest of the matches. But yeah, so now I want to get into something. Um, and this is now some people might defend Elks and say, well, you know what? It's kind of pretentious of you to like not give him a chance or like to like. Oh, I guess I did give him a chance since I was giving him advice and stuff. But some people might say like, oh, like don't get on him too hard. At least he's trying. Like everyone starts summer, right? I think that's the main thing people will say is everyone starts summer, so don't go too hard on him. And here's what I have to say with that. When I hosted my first tournament in Holdfast, it was November of 2018. Now I started playing the game October of 2017, so that's an entire year after I started playing Holdfast, and I was pretty active in that year as well, right? So what did that allow me to do? That allowed me to understand the game, understand the melee system, like make connections with people, right? Know what the commands were, the console commands, everything, right? I didn't just go into a community willy-nilly thinking I could host a tournament, um, and not understanding like any of the people involved, not understanding the game, not understanding the commands, not understanding like anything about it, right? And I'm gonna use Elkz's own words. He said, "I'm doing this for clout." That's what he said, right? Whether he's trolling, I have no idea. Apparently, he's like 14, so who knows what's going on in his mind? But that's what he said, right? So you have a teenager doing this for clout, and he doesn't understand anything about the community he's hosting a tournament for. So that's pretty much the main thing I have to push back on when people say, well, everyone starts summer. It's like, yes, everyone does start summer, but at least know the game you're hosting a tournament in, right? If like I use myself as an example, hosting a tournament 1 year after I got into Holdfast, I can look at other people as well. Elf, for example, he started playing the game, I believe, 2018, the beginning of 2018. And then I'm pretty sure like MMG, the European community before XMG was called like the European like mini games or something like that. And I'm pretty sure like that didn't start until like 2019. So that would have been an entire year after Elf like understood the melee system, understood the community, understood like the people involved, right? And then XMG didn't start until like the spring of 2020, right? And that would have been like a year and a half or 2 years into Elf and others playing the game. So you really need to like understand the community if you're going to be hosting a community tournament. Like this is pretty simple stuff. Um, Now, where do I think does Elks have a future in tournament hosting and whatnot? Um, I think he should step back from hosting tournaments, and he should just attend pickups. He should join a regiment. He should go to group fights. He should make friends with the melee community. It might be a bit hard now since his name's a bit stained, but I think he just needs to understand the community that he wants to host tournaments for. Um, like I don't think that's too much to ask. Like I appreciate his passion for wanting to host tournaments and whatnot, right? But like that passion needs to be backed up with knowledge and with experience. He had the connections, like I was giving him advice, but he was still pretty much in the dark because like he didn't know like basic things like how to ban people, right? And that comes with experience. Um, so that's pretty much my thoughts on the subject. I usually don't make videos like this, just like rambling, but what I experienced yesterday, and I think like everyone just like I just had a DM with Bacon like 10 minutes ago, and he said like that is the worst event I've ever been to in like all my time of playing Holdfast. That is the worst event I've been to, and like I have to agree, like that was a complete circus, and I find it like completely like revolting. Yeah, I'll use that word, revolting, that he even awarded a winner for that. Like two winners, by the way. There were two winners for first place. How that happens, I have no idea, but okay. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say on that subject. See ya.